So you guys know I have been searching for a property to move to for quite a while now. It's been pretty tough going. The area I live in is extremely expensive and we just cannot afford anything here. The real estate around here is really depressing, so we have started to look out of the state.
Nigel!
There are a few properties that we've had our eyes on that have been taking some pretty significant price reductions.
Bye, Nigel. Boy.
Because my husband is not particularly horsey, I do have to go down and get my eyeballs on any properties we might be thinking about purchasing. Going out of town for a few days always takes me a lot of planning.
Zig!
Ziggy has really been enjoying his own private stall in the barn with his own run. As you can see, he is still a little bit of a pig in his stall.
Zig! Hey, buddy. Hey, Zig. Hey, Zig. Scum in your eyeballs.
Ziggy has been getting some time off while his back heals, and it looks like he is finally done being sore. I have noticed some really nice improvements since he's been in his own stall. He's been getting a lot more supplemental feed, and he doesn't have to worry about the other horses picking on him. I fed him his breakfast outside this morning just so I can get through cleaning his disgusting stall before I head home for lunch. One thing I have noticed since being in a smaller run in the stall, his legs are a little bit swollen sometimes. I think this is only happening because I'm not actually getting out and exercising him, and it should go down while he's turned out today.
Hi, Zig. Frisco Bill.
I am using a brandy new horse sitter for this trip I'm taking, and she seems to be perfect for the job.
Tiny. 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 Tiny.
Because I do have to do quite a bit of extra chores when I get ready to leave town, Tiny always seems to realize when I'm about to leave.
He's sleeping.
She gets a little bit extra cranky because she does not typically approve of me going away for long stretches of time. Today, she was definitely giving me the cold shoulder. Typically, she's awake by now, but she is still snuggled down in her little hay pile. Unfortunately, the long ride that I did yesterday, I am still feeling in my legs and my butt is still pretty sore. Going on such a long ride at a pretty high speed did make me realize how out of riding shape I actually am right now. I'm only heading out of town for a few days, just long enough to pop down and check out a few places and come right back up. The last couple of days, I've been really trying to hustle and get everything ready for fall and winter. I spread out a ton of my composted manure onto the little pastures that I have all around the place. I do think maybe I laid it on a little bit thick, but the grass is definitely starting to pop up through it, so I think it'll be okay. The horse sitter is coming and doing all of the regular chores that I do, so all of the horses are going to get turned out at night or during the day. I have noticed since Whiplash has been back in with the boys after his colic scare, he is getting a little bit more aggressive around these round bales, so I'm putting an extra one out for while I'm away. This is the second to last round bale I have to put out for these horses. I haven't decided if I'm going to get any more for the winter. I am a little bit turned off by the fact that Whiplash probably got an impaction because this hay is a little bit more stemmy, and with them having access to it all of the time, it does increase their colic risk.
Come here, come here. Come here. Let me see your nose. Caught. That's horse food.
While I'm away, Huckleberry is going to be going to a special dog resort that he absolutely loves. I think he also knows that I am getting ready to head out of town because it seems like he's full of shenanigans today. He's been stealing extra snacks of horse feed and he's been plopping himself down in the mud, so hopefully I won't have to give him a bath before I drop him off later this afternoon. My plan for the day includes getting all of the hay situated, and then I'm going to prep some mash for Frisco Bill and Nigel. I scrubbed all of the water tanks yesterday, so that is one less thing I have to do today. I stripped Ziggy's stall yesterday and put in some new pelleted bedding that I think is going to be a lot easier for me to clean and should last a bit longer.
Here, buddy.
Huckleberry has been keeping busy checking all of the pastures for new gopher holes. Even though he gets to play all day long when he goes to dog daycare, I like to drop him off a little bit tired so he's not a nuisance to the other dogs. I am just about done with this big dry lot. I do have to clean out Whiplash's gigantic pile of poop in the shed and then drag everything again. One of the other things that's on my list for before the snow comes is to replace all of the wood inside this run-in. Sometimes I have a little bit of trouble prioritizing what needs to get done, and I was really itching to just go out and get the materials to fix this today, but I am not going to have time for it.
Okay, up and at him. Come on. Let's go. No, Huckleberry. Hey, buddy, come on. Here. Come on, off you go. You want to sit? Okay. Crazy dog. Oh.
Huckleberry was convinced that he was going to be allowed to drive the four-wheeler.
Watch it.
It is nice to have his help around the barn, but when I am in a hurry, sometimes he gives me a little bit of unnecessary stress. After all the failed attempts with my new poop sled, I did decide just to go back to dragging all of the dry lots every couple of days. Since it's been so hot and dry, it works perfectly. All of the poop gets chopped up and it breaks down really quickly. There's hardly any smell.
Huckleberry, what did you find, buddy?
As I was just finishing up, I noticed that Huckleberry had found a brand new gopher hole that had just popped up. I was really surprised to see some fresh grass popping up. This time of year, it is typically too cold for this to happen. It looks like Huckleberry did locate a brand new gopher hole. This is one that I did fill in at the beginning of the season. You can see there's a little bit of horse bedding in the hole. Typically, Huckleberry finds these the first day that they pop up, so I can fill them back in. This is actually not a gopher hole. It is a hole that the badger made. He has a ton of little holes over on the other side of the fence, so hopefully he'll get the idea and won't dig out this one again. With everything done in this dry lot, I can move on for the next chores for the day. I've been holding off giving everybody their breakfast just so I can move the horses around a little bit easier. I am going to turn Ziggy out after he has his breakfast, so hopefully his legs will go down a little bit. A few hours after I first checked on Tiny, it looks like she is still in a pretty deep sleep up on her hay pile.
Let's go, buddy.
I am going to use the ration balancer for the boys to get them back in their little dry lot this morning. I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed with everything I have to get done. I am supposed to fly out tomorrow bright and early, so I have to get all of my chores done today.
Come on, boys. Come on. Come on, keep it moving. Come on. In you go, boys. Huckleberry, come here. Come here. Come on. Stewie. Stewie. Huckleberry, leave them. Good boys.
With Pete, Whiplash, Stewie, and little Gus all in the dry lot, I can now close them in and move on to the other boys.
Boy. Come on. Hey, Huckleberry, come here. Stewie. Up, 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 up. Woo, woo, woo. Boys, I'm coming. Just okay, come on, boys. Good boys. Hey.
With Studman, Gus, and Goose now fed, I can open their gate and turn them out for the day. These boys don't poop inside their run-in shed nearly as much as those other horses, so I just have a few little piles to scoop out, and then I'll be ready to drag this once the horses have finished their breakfast.
Whoa.
Huckleberry has been all business this morning, but he finally thinks that it's time for me to give the old Jolly Ball a few kicks and get some more of his energy out. For the beginning of October, it is unseasonably warm out. You can see that the grass is already starting to grow a little bit more through all of this manure that I put out in the last couple of days. I am not quite ready for winter yet. I do still have to get a giant load of hay delivered that will get the horses through our crazy weather. This little pasture was also one that I spread quite a bit of manure on. After reducing my pile quite a bit, I think now the only manure that's left in my main pile is stuff that needs to be seasoned for probably the whole winter, and then I can spread it in the spring.
You rolling poop? Unbelievable, buddy.
In typical Huckleberry fashion, it looks like he found either a dead animal or some fresh poop to roll in. He doesn't smell too bad at the moment, but if he continues to add perfume layers throughout the day, I will have to give him a bath before I drop him off. I've got one little fence rail that I have to remember to put up before I leave. It seems like there's always little odds and ends to add on to my list before I'm ready to leave, so I'm just gonna keep on going this morning.
Tired? Pete! They won't let you eat, buddy.
It looks like poor Pete is not being allowed to eat off of this fresh hay that's not in the net.
Come on, Pete. Come on, Pete. Come on, Pete. Come on. Come on. Let's go, buddy. Here. Come on.
It seems like Huckleberry is running out of steam for the day, and it's not even lunchtime yet.
Sorry, buddy.
Another short little task on my list today is fixing the holes in these slow feeder nets.
Pete? Sorry. Come on, Pete. Come on, Pete.
After fixing up the net and dispersing the hay piles, it looks like I can finally continue on with my list of chores. Huckleberry spied a lone gopher in a hole right outside of the smaller dry lot. I first thought he was sneaking up on his toy, but then I saw a little gopher pop its head out. The ones that are left this time of year are particularly smart, and typically it gets harder and harder for Huckleberry to catch any. It seems like this dry lot has been working really well for 3 horses since I've made the little bit of an addition to it.
Hey, buddy!
Even though Huckleberry does have some hard times catching gophers, it does look like he caught a little mouse while he was hunting out in the pasture. It is still pretty warm out during the day, but overnight it gets really chilly, so all of the animals are preparing for a colder fall. When I first got Huckleberry, he spent a lot of time hanging out with the barn cats, so I think that's where he learned how to pounce on mice so well. Today it looks like he is definitely preoccupied with finding all the little critters he can out in the pasture.
What are you doing? Come on.
I'm trying not to get too excited about this property. It is a ton bigger than the one I'm renting now.
Come on.
I went home to get some lunch, finished my chores, and when I came back to feed in the evening, Ziggy's eye was swollen shut. When you're about to go out of town, this is the last thing you want to see happen. I flushed his eye out with some saline and observed him for a couple of hours. I also texted my horse sitter, who I haven't ever used before, but she really knows her stuff. With the sun going down, I decided to go ahead and check all of the other horses. It did seem like Ziggy's eye was swollen from irritation. I don't think he has a scratch on it. I'm gonna spend a little bit of extra time checking on these boys, and hopefully after a few hours and when Ziggy's medication kicks in, his eye will look a lot better. The property that I'm going to go check out is in Colorado. It's quite a far trip for me, so I am flying down there just to go see a few properties. I really love where I'm at, but there is no way that we could afford this place, even if it does happen to come up for sale in the near future. This property is only 20 acres, and the one that I'm looking at tomorrow is almost 200 acres, so that would be a lot more land to help a lot more horses. The price of the property has dropped by almost 60% over the last 2 years. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but there's still a lot of value. It has a house, it has lots of barns for the horses. I'm really excited to see it with my own eyeballs and see what upgrades may need to be put in for me to just move the horses over there if we do decide to purchase it. We found a few properties like this before, but it is extremely difficult to have a realtor go look at it before we come down and see it that understands the whole horse thing. Even someone that has horses casually does not really understand what you need for an operation that's a little bit bigger than just a few horses in your backyard. Thankfully, after a few hours and flushing out Ziggy's eye a few times, it was looking a lot better. I am going to come back and check on him in a few hours, and then tomorrow morning right before I leave. If his eye isn't 100% better, then I am just not going to go on the trip. I'll stay home and take him to the vet and see what might be going on. But for now, I'm trying to stay positive, and hopefully it'll look better in a few hours and I can go on my little real estate shopping adventure. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.